Here at Thrive Spine and Sports Rehab, talking with owners AJ Adamczyk and Joe Marchitelli. Guys, thanks so much for having me today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
I mean, you guys have been one of the fastest growing sports rehab places around the Jersey Shore, training a lot of great athletes and a lot of individuals who need the help and recovery. So I'm here today at the Point Beach location. This is your newer office of the two, your other being in Spring Lake. So just tell me a little bit about how you guys got started.
We'll go way back. Dr. Joe and I were teammates at the College of New Jersey. It's kind of a little story we have behind the whole thing between the team of what we have at Thrive, and we were teammates at playing baseball at the College of New Jersey, and we both always talked about starting a rehab place that really catered to athletes like ourselves, that a place that you wanted to be at, not a place that you had to go to. And really right off the bat, we set a goal that that's what we were going to do. We weren't going to veer off. We were going to start catering to other populations. We were going to cater to the active population and the athlete population, and that's what we have done. And we are super thrilled that we've been able to expand over to Point Pleasant Beach.
Yeah, I mean, he hit it right on the head. It's been something that we wanted to do for a very long time, and we were told by a lot of people not to do it. So that's kind of our motivation to continue to do it, is because a lot of people tell us not to, and we're not those type of people. You learn a little bit every time you do something, and every time you try to do a little more, and it's been a fun learning experience. And we are continuing to grow and learn every day in what we're doing.
For sure. Yeah, Point's something that Point Pleasant, the town, beach and borough. Joe, when I had Joe come join me here at the shore, I grew up here. Joe grew up in Jackson, and I said, Joe, you know what? This is a place we want to be opening an office at the shore. And he's like, hell yeah. So he joined me here, and he actually started renting a place here in Point Pleasant Beach, and he fell in love with it, just like I have. And that's when we both were like, you know what? Let's put our second location in the Point Pleasant area. And we found this location that it's been we both had our eye on it for a while, and it opened up, and we made it happen.
What was it that you guys said that made the move here at the right time? You guys have been very successful over at Spring Lake, and as you mentioned, the athlete base, the athletes and everyone that was going to Spring Lake obviously trusted you guys and giving them the services that they needed. So now you guys decided, hey, let's open up an office in Point Beach, and here you guys are.
So I would say the fact that, one, we always knew we liked this particular space, and AJ and I are big in the belief that things happen at a certain time for a reason, and when you get an opportunity to go for it. So we were told when this became available, and we looked at each other, and it was more like, well, we've always wanted it. The time is okay, maybe not perfect, but it's here in front of us. So take it. And that's always been the rationale behind everything we do, is timing's never going to be perfect, but if you take the opportunity and really run with it and give it everything you got, you can make it work. So granted, with everything going on today with the pandemic, that's right around the time when we finally signed up on the paperwork and get it all done. But we wouldn't change a thing, because during that entire time we learned so much, and we were able to thrive through this time. No pun intended. And it's been awesome. And to finally have a space in this area that we've wanted for a very long time, with our Spring Lake location, is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, me and Joe both live here, close to the office in this community, so we wanted to put an office in where we live, not necessarily where, down in Spring Lake. Obviously, it's a great area, beautiful area, amazing people. I grew up in Monmouth County. But obviously this is where me and Joe reside now. And, it's something that we wanted, an office closer to home, that, maybe as we grow, we do spend some time here, me and him, helping our patients and everything like that. But, we did have a huge population traveling down to Spring Lake to us. So, it was something that we wanted to start catering to and say, hey, you know what, now we have an office even closer to you. So it was definitely a win-win for everyone.
So definitely feeling like you guys are part of the community.
Exactly.
100%. And so, we'll transition to some of the services that you guys offer. So when it comes to, sports rehab, some people might get kind of confused and say, what exactly does that mean, or what exactly can I benefit from going to, receiving treatment, sports rehab treatment? Obviously, with athletes, it's always going to be tailored to maybe a certain injury or something like that. So what are some of the services that you guys offer, and some of the things that people can benefit from visiting you guys?
So in the Point Pleasant Beach location, we offer acupuncture and chiropractic, which can treat any condition necessary for an athlete. Most of the time, athletes, if they're not severely injured, they're just treating little aches and pains from training, and that's perfect for what we do. We really tailor in on that to keep them training, keep them playing. Spring Lake has acupuncture, chiropractic, and physical therapy, along with whole body cryotherapy. Physical therapy is our avenue that we go to when someone has a very specific injury or more serious injury, less of just aches and pains. But we utilize the same team approach in both offices, and we actually have the combination of physical therapy available to these patients in Spring Lake if these doctors deem that necessary at that time.
So also too, to go back on your question about a sports injury, a lot of people do confuse, like, okay, to be playing a sport to have a sports injury. It's not necessarily, people just refer to certain injuries. Okay, an elbow injury or a shoulder injury. A lot of the time, the typical injury to that joint does happen during a sport to an athlete, but just because it didn't happen during a sport, it doesn't mean we don't treat it. Yes, we do cater to that population and cater to the active population, say, a person, a weekend warrior, a person that just loves hitting the gym on a regular basis. That's why we put this location here next to the gym. A tennis player on the weekends, they're still going to get sports injuries if it happens. But people do get hurt, shoveling snow, mowing the lawn, doing yard work. These are still things that happen, sports injuries happen with. So don't get confused by, it doesn't have to happen with sports. You know what I mean? It just happens that a lot of people consider these sports injuries. And that's why we're a sports rehab place.
Two things I want to, focus on, one being the cryotherapy that you mentioned, the other being acupuncture. Cool. Cryotherapy being, one of the newer, things that people use to treat pain, and sort of an up and coming, process that I've been learning more about. And I know you guys have gotten to really experience this with patients. How have people, liked it? And then we'll jump into the acupuncture as well.
So Joe, why don't you take the cryotherapy?
Perfect. So cryotherapy is, as it sounds, cold therapy. There are different versions of it. There's localized cryotherapy, which is like a direct area. There's open nitrogen-based machines, which do from your neck down. And then there's the machine that AJ and I purchased from Germany, believe it or not, that has your entire body in it. It uses oxygen, so there's no FDA warnings on it. And our rationale behind it was twofold. Real, true cryotherapy that all the research is done on is in a chamber that gets your head in, because there's multiple things that can happen at once. The cold triggers changes in the superficial part of the body, like your blood, like your veins and your arteries, and flushing inflammation out and fresh blood back in. But it works a little deeper than that on a sense of like your nervous system and hormones released. Because of that feeling of supreme cold can alter the way our brain perceives things. So it can have an overall effect on your entire well-being and throughout your entire body. The second reason why was, believe it or not, we're very big into treating mixed martial artists, wrestlers, a lot of combat athletes. Neither of us have ever done that in our lives. It just so happened to be a niche we went into, being as those athletes tend to hurt themselves on a way more frequent level. And that was the other reason we wanted the machine, because they have a lot of head and neck injuries as well as concussions, and it's great for that.
Awesome.
So
yeah, it's definitely a very cool thing, and a lot of people can benefit from
anybody
it.
Can benefit from it. Yes, anybody can benefit from it.
It was definitely one of the things that we started thinking about, our client population and what can we add to our services that can benefit the most, and it made sense to invest in this machine versus other machines.
What is the process of having the machine? Because I know not many people have it yet. It's something that's like I said, up and coming. So what's the process of just having the machine?
So you want the long story or the short story?
Either one, I guess.
All right,
either one, I guess,
I'll try to.
I'm sure there are some, technicalities to having it, or some stories you guys have with.
So because it's actually known as electric cryotherapy.
Okay.
It actually is a full electrical machine, and it runs off a huge aggregate, which actually has to be housed in a different room than the actual big chamber. So the chamber is just a chamber, and it gets pumped in this cold air into it from an aggregate, which it's actually powered by, you know, the building's power, but it has to be converted through all these different units to be able to get the right amount of power to convert to run this aggregate that has, you know, different pumps in there that have different gases and chambers that allow for it to mix together to make essentially oxygen or air that is at negative 180 degrees.
Wow.
It's an amazing
So
concept.
this was a huge investment that you guys had to make in order to.
And it still is.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the investment that you keep investing.
But it's hilarious because, you know, when we first got it, we were like, oh, this could be no big deal. We'll just throw it in that room. And it you know what, we've grown so much as business owners and as practitioners and everything else along the way, and it's fun, but it's benefited our clients so much. People love it. There's some patients that literally come 2-3 times a week because that machine's in our office, and they just love it so much because they see the benefits when they're running marathons, when they're playing sports, their moods. Not for nothing, it's an amazing thing for people that actually have depression, anxiety. It's not just, that machine is not just amazing for recovery for athletes. It's great for all these other things.
Similar to acupuncture, right? So that's why
exactly.
I put those two together.
So it's an amazing machine. We wouldn't change it. Obviously, it has, you know, we've had our days when we're like, oh, you know, this machine's driving us nuts a little bit, but we wouldn't change it for a thing.
And so, transitioning into acupuncture, that's your big thing.
So I'm the acupuncturist at our Spring Lake office.
So how have people, I guess, responded to acupuncture? It seems as if more people are learning how acupuncture can help them and benefit them. So people are feeling a little bit more comfortable. But people that still have their doubts, I would assume.
No, of course, but I think, you know, as people become more open to understanding to taking care of themselves, they're becoming open to different methods, and then as practitioners get more educated properly to educate their patients, they're realizing that it's not this voodoo medicine that once we were told by the movies or by just whoever else that we thought acupuncture was. Acupuncture is an amazing therapy, just like chiropractic, just like physical therapy. We're using an ability to change the system. You know, a chiropractor uses their hands through touch, through manipulation and different things. All an acupuncturist uses is needles through the skin, and that needle is the input into the nervous system. And a lot of the techniques I use is actually using electric on those needles to change, using frequencies to change the body. The science behind it, the research behind it is astronomical, and it's amazing stuff. It's really cutting edge stuff. It's almost above you know, a lot of people's understanding because it's just super deep science, but the ability to change the system through electrical frequencies is the future of medicine.
And just the whole holistic approach to people trying to get away from the typical stereotypes of medicine.
Well, pharmaceuticals.
You know,
You know, one of the biggest issues that we face as a country, not just COVID-19 and a pandemic, but we also, you know, a lot of people forget right now that we also face one of the biggest problems is drug overdoses and the prescribing of pharmaceutical drugs.
Here in Ocean County has been a huge
100%. It's been huge here in Ocean County, and obviously, you know, this is where we reside, and it's near and dear to us. But it's a nationwide thing. It really is. It's crazy how much overprescribing of pharmaceuticals there is, and that's one thing that, you know, we work on pain. We work on people's pain, and that's really one of the biggest things that we do here. So definitely is a huge aspect for acupuncture, helping people with pain.
That's awesome here. Guys, so when you have a new patient, what's the process that they're going to go through in order to make it an easy transition and for them to start, you know, experiencing the benefits of the services here?
So if anyone calls up, they'll talk to one of our girls at the front desk, Danielle, Nicole, or Nikki. They're phenomenal. They're very well educated in what we do, what our different doctors can offer. So they ask a few questions, get some insurance information is the normal, and then they typically ask what's bothering them. Are they looking for something in particular, whether it's acupuncture, chiropractic, physical therapy, or do they have a prescription, something like that from the other doctor? And then we go from there. And then the patient will come in for their first visit. They'll be thoroughly evaluated, usually by two of us together. So maybe the first day they'll do chiropractic and acupuncture. I will go in, I'll do my evaluation, I'll do my treatment, which my treatment will give me a little bit more understanding of what I evaluated, and then I'll have a conversation with AJ, explain to him exactly what I found, what I did, what I think. He goes in, does his evaluation and his treatment, and then we usually discuss it afterwards and talk to the patient in their second visit about what we found and how the two are actually working together with some feedback of how they felt there for the first time.
Awesome. And then when you have athletes, I'm sure that also, even to more of a degree,
Yeah.
takes time to figure out what was the injury, how to prevent that from happening again.
Exactly.
So you had mentioned, I know when I talked with AJ in the beginning, he had mentioned about athletes and trying to keep athletes, going through their injuries best as possible.
Yes.
How much of an emphasis is that for you guys to obviously diagnose the injury and then, or treat the injury if it's already diagnosed, and then to keep, allow them to, continue to play their sport and continue to participate, even though, they may think that this is something that's going to hinder them for a while?
Well, that's one thing since day one, me and Joe, really never really wanted to take an athlete off the field. Obviously, if the injury is so bad, we are gonna, as educated practitioners, gonna say, listen, I think there's gonna be a benefit from you coming off the field. But we're gonna do everything we can to not take that athlete off the field. We're gonna manage it as best as we can, do as much care, palliative care to get that athlete better while still participating in their sport. We never want to see an athlete miss time in their sport. We played high school sports. You only have one, a senior athlete only has one senior season. A collegiate athlete only has 4 years playing a sport. All that time is so precious, and we understand that. We cherish those times for ourselves, and we both had injuries ourselves, and we understand missing that time and not being able to be on that field, what it means to us, and we never want to pull that athlete off the field. But obviously, if an injury is that bad, there comes a time when we have to obviously intervene and say, listen, that you're going to need to rest and those type of things, but as little as possible.
Yeah, it's definitely awesome. Again, sticking to sort of the athlete path for you guys. Working with athletes, just what's the kind of the process? How has it been like to work with a lot of these athletes around Ocean and Monmouth County, and to kind of get that trust built up with them in order, and a lot of the coaches too. A lot of the coaches around the shore, specifically someone like me who covers high school sports. You guys are a real help to a lot of these coaches to keep their athletes ready to go for the season. And with injuries, coaches a lot of times really don't know where to start when it comes to injuries. So you guys have been really helpful with that, to help them in keeping their athletes ready to go.
So in short, it's been awesome. And like AJ said in the beginning, yes, we own a doctor's office, and our goal is to help as many people as possible. But we also live in this community, so we take it twofold. It's super important for us to help our athletes in our office, and then it's super important for us to be able to see our athletes compete and play locally and watch them. And whether it's college or high school, some athletes, we see them on TV, whether they're professionals or not. And you have a pride in that when you can sit there and realize that you were able to help that person get to where they are or continue to play, and you cheer them on almost like you're a part of their family or their fan club or something like that. It's kind of crazy, but it's one of the best feelings you can ever have as a doctor.
Must be cool, because I'm sure you guys have had athletes when they're younger, and then you see them grow through their years.
To take it to another level, obviously, me and Joe started out, just me and him, and we had a few patients, and we were like, hey, we had this dream to grow it. And, it's been pretty cool, because we've had some really, really big names in the MMA world and professional sports, baseball. And, it's really cool to see those athletes on the big stage, and then seeing our business on the big stage. And it, like you said, it's a really nice sense of pride and accomplishment, and seeing that athlete thrive on that stage after having a big injury, and then being able to go out there and perform, and then them coming back and saying thank you to us, which is, there's nothing better feeling than that. When we've had it was a couple of big names. I don't like on MSG and different stuff. It was just really cool. You know, it was nice.
Yeah, I mean, going back to your wrestling, Anthony Ashnell, obviously a huge Rutgers name, and I know you can't really get more Jersey than that. And the fact that you guys, if we want to talk in a micro sense, in Jersey alone, being from that, you opened your office in Spring Lake, but you guys have been able to reach out to the entire state and reach out to a school like Rutgers is pretty impressive, you know. So
yeah, he's awesome, great guy, great representation of New Jersey, great representation of sports
And Thrive.
and of Thrive. You know, it's cool to have our name associated with someone like him.